There's no question that we have been engaged in Ukraine, that we had some hand in some of the more pro-Western moves that they've made in Ukraine since 2000. The various revolutions that they've had over there. Putin calls it a coup. So do some American pundits. The replacement of the pro-Russian leader and with a more pro-Democrat, pro-democracy leader. And basically the allegation, and Putin's made this to me personally, is that we don't have clean hands when it comes to messing with Ukraine, that we behind the scenes have been trying to force them to be more pro-Western, more pro-liberal. And he's been trying to force them to be more pro-Russian. And we were perhaps kind of winning. And then he did this. Is that not true? We have had a hand in trying to manipulate Ukraine and its outward-facing intentions.
So Mr. Putin has never demonstrated any direct involvement of the United States or any other democratic nation in the Maidan events.
That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I'm saying he's never demonstrated where we were involved with that. He just threw it out there as if it's a fact and provided no evidence of it.
So you deny it?
I don't know whether it's true or not true. I just know he's never provided any evidence of it. And I haven't seen any myself. It's not something I personally explored. What I do know is I've met the Maidan crowd. I've met them. I've talked to them. I've had dinner with them. And I know that
the revolution that led to the ouster of the old pro-Putin guy and the installation of the pro-Western guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry. Just to back up there. In the fall of 2013, there was an election that was widely understood to be rigged by none other than Mr. Putin. So he's talking about Western intervention in an election that he rigged to begin with. Mm-hmm. So, you got to hand it to the guy. I mean, oh my Lord. So he's complaining about the rigged election that was nullified by the Supreme Court of Ukraine. So
this is how it goes. I mean, that's what they call whataboutism, right? It's like you say, you're doing this bad stuff, and he looks at us and says, well, what about you? You did bad stuff too, and you can. This could go back for decades.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll end it there then, for the sake of this one. But just moving forward a couple of months. So finally, the population had enough of this with the corruption, the widespread repression of the Western-leaning segment of the population, which was probably split at the time 60-40. Majority of the population wanted to be more EU and Western-leaning. The 40% at the time, which is now probably 5% or less, wanted to be more pro-Russian. So that culminated in the demonstrations at Maidan Square, Freedom Square, in central Kiev, where Russian-inspired and Russian-led, in some cases, forces fired on and killed a large number of citizens that were demonstrating in Maidan Square. That ultimately led to the president at the time fleeing to Russia for refuge. He didn't go to Switzerland. He didn't go to Belgium or France. He went to Russia. So we know where his leanings and the source of his power was at the time.
Sure.
And so the evidence in that regard speaks for itself. I don't have to prove anything. So that stands alone, and it's a priori evidence that he was into this up to his elbows.
You're dropping some Latin on me.
Okay.
A priori is taking me back.
Hey, you dropped French on me earlier, okay?
Yeah, but I barely did it. I didn't understand it.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so so I've met with these people, and they're truly democratic aspirants, and I would at some level I would call them, true patriots of the Western liberal tradition. And that they want to have a representative government. They want to have inclusion. They want to have, an open society where people can speak their mind and they can do what they please and make their own fate and decide their station in life. And that's the crowd that's in their parliament, known as the Rada. That's the crowd that's in government. And so those are the people that Mr. Putin is trying to throw out of power. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand for the life of me why we would oppose, or we would stand back and allow that infant of a democracy to be snuffed out in the first years of its life. To me, democracy does not end at the borders of NATO. I think we collectively, as the I would say the Western liberal tradition nations, not necessarily ending at NATO's borders, but I think we have a moral obligation and certainly a political imperative to help these burgeoning democracies, these budding democracies, to flourish and grow, and help them along the way and encourage them into living a democratic and principled society.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.